I should state before we begin, in addition to the 2C-P, we smoked a fairly constant supply of opium and marijuana throughout the day. The other day, I parachuted 16 milligrams of 2C-P. Two of my friends did the same, not realizing the small discrepancy between a normal dose and an overdose. I can safely inform all of you that 16 milligrams is indeed an overdose. The trip lasted for about 20 hours. I was granted absolute clarity and insightfulness into the workings of all minds around me. Visuals were exceptionally intense. Things would appear in midair, and not only that, but even my hallucinations would warp. There was a space of, I would estimate, maybe an hour or so, where I fully left my body. My consciousness and spirit went away for a while. I was able to see into and even explore different dimensions, each with their own laws of physics and order. I think I almost had a heart attack about 5 times. Both of my friends reported the same. This was the most unbelievably intense experience of my life. It was as if I could sit down and speak with God, but not only that, I could teach him something. By the end, I was reduced to scratching concepts of the working of time and space into my wall in the dark. My dealer had taken 12 milligrams the day before, and a couple of my friends had taken 10. It was only after me and my 2 buddies had taken it that we were informed it was 16 milligrams. We foolishly assumed it was a 10 to 12 milligram dose, since that was what everyone else had been receiving. Also of note, I weigh approximately 135 pounds. For those uninformed to the meaning of parachuting, that is when you place the crystal in a small piece of tissue for a makeshift pill, which is then swallowed after being wrapped tightly. To be honest with you, I might have been legally dead for the hour that I left my body. It wouldn't surprise me too much. As far as the near heart attacks, it's not clear whether it was an actual severe problem, or if it was simply because I could feel each individual chamber doing its work, as if my brain was telling me, look, this is what you have to put up with on a daily basis. There was certainly a marked increase in heart rate. Whether this was related to the effects of the drug, or the anxiety from seeing existence unravel in front of me, I do not know. The level of detail in everything surpassed everything I had witnessed before. When looking in a mirror, I could not only see myself reflected in my own eye, but I could see the reflection in my reflection's eye, which happened to show what I was seeing. That was a bit fucked up. I'm quite surprised I made it through okay. I'm usually more careful with psychoactives, especially experimental ones, but I figured, what's 1 or 2 milligrams? Which is a mistake I will not repeat. As for ego loss, I've had a bit of that before, but this experience absolutely shattered any idea of an ego. It was an absolutely humbling experience in every way. I still have the etchings in my wall. I've taken 2CE before, which was an extremely spiritual, perhaps life-changing experience. But after 2CP, it pales in comparison. It's important to note, I indulged in a short ether binge at the height of my 2CE trip. By no means was it mild. I forget the dose, but it was high enough to get some pronounced visuals. I can safely say that 2CP presented me with some of the most beautiful and terrifying images and epiphanies I've ever been graced with. Also, for a short while, I was the most astute and learned psychotherapist on the planet. I understood the workings of all mind and matter. Not one of the 3 of us are the same as we were before we took this drug. I believe it was for the better, but to get there, we had to go through the absolute worst. If you have any deep-seated emotional issues, painful memories, or things of that nature, a dose of this caliber will not only serve to bring them back in all of their soul-crushing glory, but will arm you with the tools to come to terms with these issues and put them to rest. While I was drawing the universe on my wall, I labeled each section in the order that I drew it, so that it would be easier to trace through the thought process. 1. The words "don't forget" with thick, obvious, urgent underlining. 2. A small, black parallelogram. I would say it was a square, but the sides are slanted at odd angles. 3. Arrows pointing towards the square labeled the universe. 4. In quotations, parentheses as well, under the universe is the word everything. This is everything with a capital E, folks. Everything. All of life, matter, time, and space within this universe. 4. Above the small black box-like object are the words, "I understand this." It is implied that the rest remains a mystery, though I have been to those places. 5. 3 orbit-like ellipses with the words "everything else" repeated twice within them. These rings circle the small black object and weave within each other at 2 points. 6. Way off to the right, at where the ceiling connects to the wall, is an infinity symbol surrounded by 3 short, thick strokes, implying motion and change. This is infinity in addition to everything and everything else. 7. The words, "They would have this painted over in white," off to the side of the etching, right between my work, and a Dali poster, "The Metamorphosis of Narcissus." It's implied that this statement applies to both works. In summation, I had complete understanding of everything within this universe that existed. I had a plethora of knowledge about it. Everything. With this knowledge also came the knowledge that everything was far from all there was. My 2 friends and I were granted a certain form of shared consciousness and telepathy that was second nature during the trip. But now that it's over, it is extremely disturbing to think about. We would have entire conversations with each other, while our friends who weren't tripping reported that we did not speak out loud, and when we did, it was incoherent. Far-fetched? I think so too. But what happened happened. Looking back, I do believe I probably died briefly. Something tells me the 2C-P both destroyed and revived me. This is certainly what it felt like. So powerful, in fact, that I consider overdosing again to get that effect. But I doubt that I will. Be exceptionally careful with this one. It's different, in a fundamental way. Be warned.